Welcome to the City of Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for January 6, 2022. The agenda, documents, and minutes are located at okc.primegov.com/public/portal. For anyone wishing to speak today, hopefully previously notified staff. If you're the applicant, you'll be acknowledged to speak at the appropriate time. If you're not the applicant, we ask that you fill out one of these white forms that are available outside and deliver it to staff immediately so we'll know when to call on you. Per city proclamation, masks are not required, but given the COVID numbers recently, they're highly encouraged. If you can't understand a board member, we can repeat what we're saying, or if you can't understand you can remove your mask, but they are highly recommended. We'll call the case, and then we will recognize the applicant or applicant's representative to speak. Then we'll recognize any supporters, then any protests, and we'll close with the applicant speaking. Public comment will then be closed unless specifically reopened by me or another board member. The board will then deliberate and vote. For speakers other than the applicant, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Board members will be allowed to ask questions or comments or make comments at any time. Please do not interrupt board members while they're speaking because we need a clear record and it makes the meetings go by much faster. Before you begin with your comments, please identify yourself by stating your name and your address. And this meeting is called to order. First item on the agenda is to receive the minutes from the December 16th, 2021 special meeting. Do you have any changes or a motion?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to receive the minutes from the December 16th, 2021 special meeting. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And minutes are approved. Next item is continuance requests or withdrawals. I think we have a couple.
We have item number 12, case number 14962 to 63, that's being deferred till January 20th, 2022. Item number 13, case number 14966 has been withdrawn. We have a new item, number 2, case number 14964, 420 Kearney Lane, and we will continue that until January 27th.
Okay, do we have anyone here that was hoping to speak on any of those applications? Okay, seeing none, we don't need a motion for the withdrawal, but we need a motion for the continuances.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to continue those items as requested. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And those items are continued. Move on to the consent docket. There's nothing on the consent docket, so we'll move to items requiring a separate vote.
Item number 1, case number 14948, request of Hector Moreno for a variance to the front yard setback for a carport in the R1 residential district located at 1329 Northwest 98. And Mr. Moreno is here.
Good to see you. Good to see you again. So normally we have the applicant give an overview of their application. You were here at the last meeting and gave an overview, so I think we can incorporate those comments into this meeting. If you would just give an overview of the changes in your application, I think you've eliminated the carport or covering over the porch area, but if you wanted to give an overview, we'd appreciate that.
You eliminated the front porch. Okay.
So that leaves the only variance as being the 4-foot variance from the property line, I think, was that the last? Yeah, so it's only the 4-foot variance? Okay. Board members, I think at the last meeting, we were okay with that. At least the majority. Do you have any questions or comments of the applicant? Okay. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone hoping to speak on this application? Okay. We've got a protest letter, but that was from the last meeting, and I think the primary objection there was for the porch section, so I think that addressed the protest as well. Seeing no other comments, board members, questions, comments, or a motion?
I'll move approval, 4 feet.
A second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the single variance request in case 14948, limited to 4 feet, for the reason that it meets the statutory standards for a variance. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's approved.
Approved.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys. Thank you.
Item 2
Item
is
number-
continued, so yeah, I think we move to item 3.
Item number 3, case number 14971, request of Amarok LLC for a variance to the fence regulations located at 3617 Southwest 44th Street, and we have the owner of the property here to represent.
Hello. My name is Jeremy Shavitz. I'm one of the owners of Collision Boss. And I have some photos I'd like to give you guys.
Sure.
I can give the all.
Probably to Cindy, and then she can,
Basically, compiled of pictures of break-in after break-in after break-in we've had at our body shop. Our fence keeps getting cut. We've spent over $20,000 last year on fixing fences, fixing cars, replacing catalytic converters. I mean, we're under attack. It's crazy. I've never dealt with anything like this before. And it's weekly, and they don't care. I mean, we have cameras up. We have a fence with barbed wire. They don't care. They don't even have masks on. They're walking straight in front of the camera. They don't care who sees them. It's brazen. It's unbelievable. But this is the only thing that we can think of to try to stop it from happening, kind of a deterrent, I've talked to a gentleman up in Edmond who has the same fence up as where I saw it first. And he said that after his fence went up, he hasn't had one break-in since. But he was having cars stolen, catalytic converters stolen, things that we're experiencing ourselves. And I'm begging for a fence. We need one bad.
yeah, I understand. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. I can't imagine. So I've owned businesses and haven't had to deal with that before, so I can only imagine.
Hard enough being a business on its own,
Sure. So the one issue with these is sometimes the city sort of develops in different ways and in different areas. And if we grant you a variance, that continues with the property forever, regardless of how that area develops or how the city develops. And so under the current code, these are not allowed where you're proposing. And that's not
It is
to
on
say-
the inside of our fence, so
What?
it's separated from the public.
Yeah.
They would actually have to go through our fence to get to the electric fence.
Right.
So it is protecting the public. There's signs posted, 7,000 volts, and it's not a continuous volt. It's intermediate, so
Right.
it comes and goes. So
And I should say, we've had several applications like this, and so we're familiar with the
Okay.
system and the
Yes, sir.
safety protocols and all that. So don't feel like you have to, I think
Okay.
Mr. Pate was going to come present it, but, so don't feel like you have to go to that level of granularity. But all I was kind of getting at is sometimes we like to limit these to a period of years so that if the city kind of changes in a way that it really shouldn't accommodate something like this, it can be revisited. And I think a long period of time makes sense, but I don't know what the board feels, but for me, I was thinking 10 years. I could get a little bit longer even, but I was kind of thinking 10 years. And then you'd come back here if you still own the property and you still have those issues. Hopefully you don't have any issues, but if you still foresee having some of these issues, it can be renewed after 10 years or something.
in 10 years, come back and revisit or
Yeah.
reapply or?
Right, it'd be another application, and then you'd come back and just presumably say it's been doing what it's supposed to do, but there's still some crime in the area, so we want to renew it, something like that. And, if you sell the property and move somewhere else or something like that, and it becomes a different use, it might not need this electrified fence there. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning. But board members, any questions or comments? Okay. Is 10 years, is that kind of what,
That's
I think
fine with me.
we've done around 10 years in the past on some of these, so.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have anyone signed up, but was anyone hoping to speak on this application other than the applicant? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can take questions, comments, or a motion.
I'll move approval, limit to 10 years.
Okay.
Is that so long as this is being used in this way, this particular business?
I wasn't going to condition it on use. I thought the temporal would probably take care of it.
How long have you been there?
I've owned it for 2 years.
Okay. So the board can,
I'm on board with your motion. I just wanted to make sure if that was a condition, we
Okay.
got it in there.
yeah.
Yours is fine.
I wasn't going to condition it on use, and if he does sell it in a few years, maybe the next owner might still want it. I don't know,
Yeah.
but, and conditioning on use is difficult.
Well, my son's going to take this over. I'm
Okay.
never selling it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm okay not conditioning it on use, but to 10 years. Okay, so we've got a motion to approve the variance request for a period of 10 years. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second to approve the variance request for a period of 10 years for the reason it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Good luck.
But
Item number 4, case number 14972, an application for a renewal of a special exception of Carl Osborne to allow a mobile home to serve as a temporary second dwelling to relieve a medical hardship located at 13517 Silver Meadows Road.
Good afternoon. My name's Carl Osborne. I live at 13517 Silver Meadows Road, and I put in an application to renew this hardship because my sister's still there. She's had more medical problems and stuff, so we're still taking care of her, and now it's right at 100% that we're actually taking care of her now. So that's pretty much the basic of it.
Okay.
As you can probably see in some of the paperwork I gave y'all, that she had some surgeries and had some of her fingers removed, so it makes it even more harder for her to get around. We recently got rid of her car because she can no longer drive.
Okay. As you're probably familiar, we can do these for up to 3 years. I assume you wanted 3 years?
Do what, sir?
We can grant these for up to 3 years. I assume you wanted the full 3 years, but.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the other thing I like to mention on these applications is to keep in mind that potentially, depending on how long you think that this hardship is going to last, there might be other things you can do with the city that are more permanent, and that you wouldn't have to keep coming back here every 3 years.
Yeah,
So-
I was kind of wondering if there's any way we could file some kind of a petition to make that where it could be a permanent deal.
Yeah.
Because, we don't wish anybody to pass away, but with her disease and ailments that she has, we know it's going to happen soon.
Right.
And my granddaughter is also disabled and has been since birth. And of course, she's doing pretty good now at age 25, but she will need a lot of help also.
Okay.
As myself. Eventually, as you can see, I'm moving slower now.
Well, you've already paid this application fee, and so probably what it would be is to proceed on this application, and then over the next 3 years, work with the city staff on potentially a more permanent solution, so that you wouldn't have to come here. It'd be like that permanently. That's a little bit more difficult of a process if they're going to grant that forever. But so just keep that in mind. But I always like to advise of your options, and so we like seeing you, and hopefully you like coming here. But potentially a more permanent solution you might think about looking into over the next couple of years. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Board members, any questions or comments? Okay. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone hoping to speak on this application? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can take a motion.
I'll move approval of case number 14972 for a period of 3 years for the reasons that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception.
I'll second it.
We've got a motion and a second to approve these application in case 14972 for the reason it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 3 years. Cast your votes, please. and it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
So we have item number 5, case number 14959, a special exception of Stephanie Anderson to allow home sharing located at 6513 North Missouri Avenue.
Happy New Year and good afternoon to the members of the board and to those in the gallery. My name is Stephanie Anderson and I reside at 810 Solosia in San Antonio, Texas. But I'll be the first to let you all know that I'm a native daughter of Oklahoma City, so much so that I will yell thunder up in a Spurs nation, which you know can be very dangerous because the fanatics in the Spurs basketball franchise take that very seriously. And during the Red River rivalry, I'm good to wear my crimson and cream for OU.
He's trying to bias the board already, isn't she?
Just to let you know that although I reside in San Antonio, Texas, my heart and everything that I stand for is here in Oklahoma City. I'm before you today. Just wanted to let you know a little bit about myself, but I'm before you today making application for an exception to my home located at 6513 North Missouri Avenue here in Oklahoma City for short-term rental. I purchased this beautiful home over a quarter of a century ago in 1996 for my growing family. It was then and is still located a short 3-minute drive from my parents' home. And today, accompanying me, who in 3 weeks will be 90 years old, is my father, who moved up to Oklahoma City at the tender age of 16 years from Southeast Oklahoma to find work. He retired from Tinker Air Force Base, and he's been living here in Oklahoma City for over 73 years. And he's reared my siblings and myself. My mother and I and him did that for us. So the pride runs deep in Oklahoma City for me. But the home that I decided to purchase was not only near to my family, but it's also near my alma mater, where I attended kindergarten through 12th grade. I consider the pride of the East Side, Millwood. From kindergarten through 12th, I attended and graduated, and my children received their early education there as well. However, in 2007, I moved for love because my husband received his last duty station orders for the Air Force, which the destination was San Antonio, Texas. And at that time, we moved. But I come home very often. Up until recently, I had long-term renters who were fortunate enough to become homeowners themselves. Who wouldn't want to own a home? They were able to share my beautiful home for over 14 years, but it came time for them to become homeowners themselves. And it caused me to think how I could, again, share my home. So I learned about short-term rentals. So my home is located in the heart of the Adventure District in Northeast Oklahoma City, which causes me a lot of pride. It's right off of Northeast 63rd Street. I love it because it has a rural feeling. It's quiet, it has a lot of land and a lot of character. Many of my neighbors are retired. And at some point in time, I hope to come back after my husband gets a chance to retire for the second time to make this home my living station again. But for right now, I'm wanting to open up my property as a short-term rental. Just wanted to give you just a little information about who I am, because sometimes I think when people see an address from out of state, they may have connotations to believe about the person. Maybe they're just wanting to buy up land in Oklahoma City and do whatever. But this will not be a party house because it is my home and I intend to return to it. So I will be very diligent in making sure whoever has the opportunity to utilize my home in this a particular fashion is going to be vetted properly, and they will take care of my home. I just kind of wanted to give you a little background information about myself and my intent for use, but at this time, I don't know the protocol, but I'm welcome for any questions you may have about what I'm trying to do.
I think you gave a great presentation that answers a lot of the questions we typically have, and your application answered a lot of questions we typically have. We get a map of the locations of the current home sharing locations and the proposed home sharing locations.
Okay?
And yours, which is favorable to your application, looks like it's not really in an area that's saturated with a lot of these home sharing properties. So that tends in your favor, and I agree with you, that's a great area of the city, and an area that I think could use a use like this. I don't see a lot, the fact that you've got some land surrounding your property that sort of acts as a barrier from your neighboring properties is favorable. I mean, I think it's a pretty strong case, but those are my initial thoughts. Board members, questions or comments? Okay. I don't have anyone signed up to speak on this application. Is there anyone that was hoping to speak on this application? Okay. And I don't see any protest letters either. Normally we talk about conditions. Here it looks like there's plenty of room for parking. I think I trust you about the partying issue, and I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that. The fact that you're gonna want to return. Who's going to manage the property while you're in San Antonio?
Okay, so I come home very often. However, since I do reside in San Antonio, as much as I can, it will be managed by me remotely, but I have definite boots on the ground. I have a team of professionals and family members who are going to assist me with the day-to-day routine when it comes to anything that comes up that I can't manage remotely.
Okay. And then if you could talk a little bit about this association that your application talks about. I know it talks about if the manager addresses the renter and things like that. Could you just give us an overview of what that's about?
The homeowners association, is that what you asked?
I assume so, yes.
Okay, so to be totally transparent, I believe when I purchased a home, it superseded homeowners associations. I didn't really know anything about those until I moved to San Antonio. But what we have is a small organization of neighbors, the Persimmon Hill Association, and I just kind of critique it. I mean, I just name it the Homeowners Association, but there are guidelines as far as respect for neighbors, noise, and all of that. So it was just something that I'm going to be able to put in my homeowners, well, my welcome book for all potential guests, to be respectful, and that there's, thank goodness, but there's no neighbors here today protesting because they see the value and the need for it, my endeavors. So for say there's no homeowners association, but just generally just respect of the neighborhood and the property and the neighbors themselves.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes the association will protest, and it didn't look like they were protesting this one, but since you mentioned a couple of things in there, I just wanted to make sure. So we can grant these for up to 10 years. We've never granted anything close to 10 years. For board, I think 3-ish years seems appropriate to me. Yeah, any other questions or comments? I can't think of any conditions here, but, okay. Don't think there's anything else to discuss, so board members, questions, comments, or a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we approve case number 14959 for the special exception for a period of 3 years.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the application in case 14959 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 3 years. Once you're able to, cast your votes. and it's approved.
Thank you.
Sure, good luck.
Item number 6, case number 14965, an application for a special exception for home sharing of Austin Harms located at 2724 Northwest 21st Street.
Hello, my name's Austin Harms, and my property address is 2724 Northwest 21st here in Oklahoma City. And I as well will, my wife and I will be using the property for home sharing. And I'd like to highlight a few advantages for using a property as a short-term rental. We are going to have it cleaned often, maintained very meticulously. Any repairs necessary will be done quickly. The lawn will be maintained regularly. My wife and I live locally with our 4 children, and so we will be very hands-on with property maintenance. We've already been over there fixing it up, doing improvements, and some long-term landlords, they do let their properties go, but we've already invested hundreds, thousands of dollars into improving this property. We take great pride in it, and we have no plans on letting it deteriorate in any way. We will be employing contractors and housekeepers, so it's a benefit to the community in that way. Regarding guests that will be staying at the property, there are screening measures available for us. We're going to be very diligent about who's going to be in the home. On platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, previous hosts can and do leave reviews for renters. And so we're going to be checking those reviews out. If somebody has a few negative reviews, we have the ability to say no, to not allow them to stay. And that's something that's really important to us. We don't want anybody in our home that's going to be a risk to damaging the property or our neighbors or anything like that. Like I said, we're local and we take pride. We go to Thunder games. This is our community. And if anything's going to be upsetting to anybody in any way, we're going to, rectify and resolve that as quickly as possible. We have video monitors on the front and back doors on the outside, so we're going to be able to know who's in and out of our house. And only guests on the reservation are allowed on the property. They have to submit ID, so we will verify every identification of every person on the reservation. We're going to be at a higher price point too. We've already invested a lot of money into furnishings and repairs, so not always, but typically when you have a higher price point, it's going to attract, the higher end quality people that are not going to cause as many problems. We have contacted neighbors. We've sent house rules to our neighbors. My phone number has been included in there, so anybody can call me at any time. I'm very accessible. I want to know quickly if there's any problems so we can be down there and take care of it. We have plenty of parking on the property. We have a really long driveway. There is covered parking as well in the back. That's part of our house rules too, that we're going to require anybody staying there to park in our driveway. Plenty of room for quite a few cars. Again, the house rules, everybody that stays in there is going to have to read and agree to that. Like I said, the parking, no other guests, like I said before, no smoking, no excessive noise. We also do have a noise monitor system in the home that will alert me on my phone of any excess noise. It also detects motion, so it would alert me if it thinks there's a crowd gathering. We don't want any parties, nothing like that. We want it to be really low-key, really high-quality people in the home at all times. Like I said before, we take pride in it. We have a great monetary incentive for this to be successful, for it to be kept very well maintained. Because if we let it go downhill, our business goes downhill, and that's not good for anybody. And we only want to allow the highest quality people as far as how they're going to maintain and take care of our place. And that's about it. Thank you. Any questions?
I think you may have tried to address some of these comments in your own presentation, but if you wanted to address this protest letter, I'm sure you've received a copy of that, so if you wanted to address those concerns.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Address, what do you want me to
The
address?
concerns in the protest letter?
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware that I was going to. Do you have it in front of you, or do you?
So you don't have to, but if you have an opportunity to.
Thank you. Yeah, so vetting of renters, like I said, there's reviews available that we're going to make sure that we want people in our property only, who have a good reputation as best as possible. We're going to make them submit ID. It is going to be rented on a maybe not. I don't know how it's going to go. Maybe, we're also going to be, if somebody wants to stay a month or 2 months, we're open to that. It's not necessarily going to be just short term, just depending on who wants to book, I guess. Yeah, as far as safety issues, that's why we sent out letters to our neighbors with my phone number. If anybody has any concerns of any time, a background check's not always a guarantee of, anything. It might be helpful, but you just never know. If it's a long-term rental, or if, there's just as much, there's the same risks apply. You never know if somebody buys a house next to you. You don't know what they're going to be like, if they're going to bring in groups or parties or, those kinds of things.
Down here under property value, actual property value, I don't know how concerned I am with that, but if you wanted to address the Washington State license plate that this person apparently saw.
Yeah, we do have renters in there right now. They signed a lease for longer than 30 days, so it's not considered short term. We've talked to them, we've met them. They are moving to Oklahoma City from Washington. They're looking for a house, they're looking for jobs. It's just the two of them and their grown daughter. And so far, they've been in a couple weeks. They're very low key. They've reached out to us handful of times about really minor things.
Yeah, I think the protest thinks that might be those might be your vehicles, and that you're not actually from Oklahoma. But it sounds like you cleared that
No,
up.
they're not. They're not ours.
Yeah.
They are renters in there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Board members, any questions or comments of the applicant? Okay. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone else hoping to speak on this application? Okay. For me, just given this area, I don't think I've seen anything that warrants denial of the application, but I do think that this area is getting very dense with home sharing, and so a shorter period of time makes sense to me. And then the conditions as presented today by the applicant, and I would probably want in the special exception that it'll be advertised as off-street parking only, just to confirm that. But other than that, I don't know that I have anything to against this application. Any other questions or comments?
No, just for the record, I have the same concern. This area is getting very saturated. Just looking at our location map. So I too would be on board with a shorter period for this one.
And Ms. Ybarra, I think this ordinance might potentially get a little bit of an overhaul at some point. And so that, your concern, I echo and share, and I think will potentially be addressed and accommodated by a shorter period of time on the special exception. So, I was thinking probably 2 years for this one, just given this area. I could even go shorter, but I think 2 years is fair. That's kind of where I am. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
So after the 2 years, do I come back here and reapply? Is that
Yep.
the deal?
Yeah. And so the permit, my understanding is the permit lasts a year with the city permit.
Okay.
And then your special exception It sounds like the board's talking about 2 years. And so you'd get the permit every year and then a special exception. After 2 years, you'd come back potentially for a longer period of time at that point.
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing. Was there another concern, a concern from you?
Just the density. So I think that was your comment, right? The density?
Oh, yeah, sorry. My only comment, I was echoing the chairman's concern that this area of the city is getting very densely populated
Oh, I
with
see.
short-term rentals.
I see.
And so, we can grant these for longer periods, but we're just discussing that given that situation,
Mm-hmm.
we would be on board with a shorter term for this particular special exception.
Okay, I
Just due to
understand.
that condition.
I understand, thank you.
Yeah, it's something beyond your control. So it's not something you can control. So
Sure.
okay. Questions, comments, or a motion?
I'll move approval of case number am I on the right case? Yeah, 14965 for a period of 2 years with the condition that the house rules that are in the application be advertised with the property. In addition, that it be advertised as off-street parking only. And I think that was it. Yeah. For a period of 2 years.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to approve the application in case 14965 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 3 years on the condition that the advertising will include the self-imposed conditions in the application and it'll be advertised as off-street parking only. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have item number 7, case number 14967, an application for a special exception for home sharing for Russell Sharp located at 4324 Northwest 18th Street.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell Sharp. I reside at 2530 Northwest 19th Street. This is our first endeavor into any kind of rental property. For my wife and I, we're looking for something for retirement. Our goal is not actually the short-term rentals, but we wanted to have that option. We're kind of foreseeing maybe nurses coming in or some executive rentals, longer-term things, over 30 days anyway, up to 6 months approximately. We've put several $1,000s in furnishings and remodeling into this home, and our neighbors seem to be good with it. I think we've improved the property value actually in the area just by what we've done on the outside. I brought a picture. I should have sent one, but it looks nothing like it did in this picture that's on there. There's plenty of off-street parking. We're going to make sure that that's in our rules too. You can fit 4 or 5 cars in that driveway there, so there's no reason that anybody should have to park out in the street. And there is a school up the street from us too that at about 3 o'clock every day, you can't be in the street because they are lined up all the way down there. So, I guess if anybody's got any questions, that's about all I have. Being our first endeavor, maybe not as prepared as some of these other people. They're pretty impressive, but.
Well, I think your application included most of the stuff we normally ask. And it looks like you have a support letter as well, so from a neighbor. So, and you'll be living nearby on 19th Street. It sounds like. Is that correct?
Yeah, we live on 19th. We live in Crestwood, and this is. I don't actually know the name of that.
Okay.
Over there.
And it sounds like you kind of just want this to have the flexibility to have short-term rental or longer-term rental, whichever is appropriate.
Right.
Okay. And it looks like there were too many in this area. It is 23rd Street, but they don't look like, your whole block isn't saturated with home sharing, so that works in your favor. Board members, any questions or comments? I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone else that was hoping to speak on this application? Okay. Seeing none, seems similar to the last one to me. Those streets are narrow too, so the off-street parking makes sense. But yeah, it seems similar to me. But questions, comments, or a motion?
A question, how many years are we talking?
It seemed 2 years to
2 years
me
as
as
well?
well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, someone can propose a different amount of time, but that made sense to me in this area. So,
Well, then I would like to move that we accept case number 14967 for a special exception for a period of up to 2 years with the conditions that are listed in the application.
Yeah, I'll second that.
okay, we've got and then that included the off-street parking.
Yes, I
Okay.
said conditions off-street.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a motion and a second to approve the application in case 14967 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 2 years and including the self-imposed conditions in the application and that the property will be advertised as off-street parking only. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Okay, thank you, board. I appreciate it.
Sure. Good luck.
Item number 8, case number 14968. We have an application for a special exception for home sharing for Gabrielle Stevenson, located at 18605 Okia Drive.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gabrielle Stevenson, and I currently live at 1336 Azalea Road Northeast in Piedmont, and I am looking to Airbnb my house located at 18605 Ochoa Lane. It is a property that I've owned for 5 years and lived in. I recently moved in with my boyfriend in his house in Piedmont, and so we are trying to get rental income from my current property. I didn't realize there were going to be so many of you, so I apologize. I did print out pictures of the inside of my house. That way you can see it's not something that people are just going to come in and trash. So I'll go ahead and pass that to you. In the back of that as well, I have included reviews of Airbnbs that we have stayed in, that we've gotten good reviews, that we keep it clean. And I'm sure some of you have used Airbnb in the past for staying in places that you don't want to stay in a hotel. We have pets. So we can't stay in a lot of hotels, so we look for homes on Airbnb with fenced-in backyards so we can bring our babies with us because our babies are our children. I also brought a current listing that we have in Bella Vista, Arkansas. We do have an Airbnb over there that we started in mid-November. I included pictures of that as well and reviews of people that have stayed in our houses that have a 5-star review. We currently have 7 reviews, 5 stars, and then in the back of this one is our current rules and our information guide. So it does say no parties, no loud noises, and we have quiet hours are from 10 to 7. And then just basic rules there. And this is in the house in Arkansas. I have not made one for this property yet in Oklahoma because I was waiting for the license to make sure I can do it. So feel free to read through that. And this is the one in Bella Vista, Arkansas.
Thank you.
And we are looking to actually have a total of 1 new property every single year for the next 13 years as our retirement plan. All Airbnb because we enjoy going to places, so they will be a kind of second home for us, but also allow other people to travel because we enjoy traveling so much and we know a lot of people do as well. So we're just trying to allow people to bring their pets with them as they travel, whether they're visiting from the state, out of state, or out of the country. And there was a protest letter that I can address. I don't think he quite understands what Airbnb is all about. He said it was going to be for like migrant workers. No, it's an Airbnb. They have to pay to stay, and it's going to be a 2-night minimum.
I think the concern of Mr. Gore was maybe not seeing all the details
Yeah.
or being satisfied with the details.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe if you went over some of those now, you could alleviate those concerns, but it looked like it was 3 rooms. I didn't see, well, it doesn't matter for his purposes, never mind. But there looked like there was plenty of parking,
Yes, it is a 2-car garage.
and your renters will have access to the garage.
I'm sorry?
Your renters will have access to the garage?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, this area's got wider neighborhood streets anyway, I think, so I don't know this.
We do allow parking in the neighborhood
Yeah,
on the street.
yeah.
But again, it's a 2-car garage plus 4 spots in the driveway. So if there's more than 6 people staying in my house with 6 cars, I'm kind of questioning it because there's only 6 room for like people to sleep. So
Mhm. Is there a limit to the number of, I guess I'll rephrase that. On your listing, how many people will you put as the maximum number?
6.
Okay,
I have 3 beds, a king, queen, and a full.
okay. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak. Is there anyone else that was hoping to speak on this application? It's getting kind of thin out there, yeah.
Thanks for saying, appreciate it.
Again, I think the objection is primarily a lack of appreciation of the details, or some of the standard objections against home sharing itself.
Yeah, and I actually looked him up because I was like, who's going to object to this kind of thing? So he doesn't actually live in the neighborhood. He just owns a house there.
Okay,
His mailing address was 2 hours away.
okay. I guess he's CC'd the HOA. That doesn't necessarily mean he's involved in the HOA, but in any event, if you have an HOA, it doesn't look like they've opposed. And in this area, to me, you're almost to Edmond anyway, and there aren't a lot of Airbnbs in that area, and so,
It's not your custom area for Airbnbs. I like it because it's close to the highways. So if someone wants to come and visit their kid that's going to UCO, cut down Edmond. If you're going to Norman, cut down 74. If you don't want to go to the schools, go shopping. So it's kind of convenient just for everything because it's really close to both highways.
yeah, and you've got some of those larger businesses going up on Memorial. Paycom's over there, and some of the other places are over there. I think State Farm's over there. So you've got some larger businesses that might have people flying in town and staying there. So, yeah, I think I can get on board with it. I'd be a little concerned with the number of people, but the fact that she said it will be advertised as 6, I think, as a maximum of 6, I think we can put that as a condition, and that would make me feel more comfortable that it's not going to be some party house.
Oh, Lord, no.
It's
No parties.
It's a little north for a party house anyway. You know, you'd think they'd want to be closer to downtown or something for
Yeah.
a party house, but
And like the gentleman before, I do have cameras in the front, the doorbell camera, and then I'm going to position one in the backyard as well, because you're not supposed to have them inside the house, so it's going to be facing backyard and front yard, so that we can see who is coming in and who is going out. And as soon as more than the 6 or whatever is on the reservations in there, we're going to be texting you and be like, get out of our house. You violated the rules.
okay. And then,
We're kind of mean like that.
yeah, well, I mean, if you're protecting your business, I understand.
Exactly. This is my personal house, so it's you
Yeah.
know, something I'm taking care of.
So you live in Piedmont, so who will be managing the property?
Well, we live in Piedmont. It's 20 minutes from my house. So we currently manage the Airbnb in Arkansas, so we'll be both managing this one as well. And if it becomes something that we cannot manage, I know very many management companies because I work in property management currently. So I know contractors, cleaners, property managers, and I have a gentleman in my networking group that has already said that he would take care of it if he needs to.
I think I heard Bella Vista, is that close to the border or something?
I'm sorry?
In Arkansas, your Arkansas B&B, is that close to the border? Or-
So Bella Vista is just south of Missouri. It's about 3.5 hours from here. So if you know Fayetteville, Bentonville, Bella Vista.
Okay.
It's right up the
Yeah.
Go
alley.
there all the time, love it.
I love that area. It's so nice for biking and
love it.
hiking and stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like you might have a customer for your B&B.
It's got the beautiful sunroom. Did you see the pictures as it went by?
My parents own property there on Trafalgar.
Well, so it seems a little far to manage the Arkansas property on a day-to-day basis. So if it needs to be cleaned or something, seems a little much to drive 3 hours. But that property is not before us. I think it's,
Yeah, we have a cleaning crew over there,
Yeah.
and it's literally on the phone.
Okay.
You're accepted, you're not coming to our house kind of thing. so.
okay. Board members, any questions or comments? Okay.
I have one question. Based upon what you said a few minutes ago, that the garage would be available, then there's 4 parking spaces in the driveway. However, in your application, you put down no more than 1 car parked in the street directly in front of the house.
You can, I don't like them to, but you actually can park in the street. So I don't want them to, but they can, but there's no reason to because there's 2 in the garage, 2, and then 2 in the driveway. So they wouldn't need to, but it is there available.
Well, and I was thinking the same thing, and maybe that you might want to omit that statement since it's not a requirement.
Okay.
Yeah, parking is, I don't know how familiar you are with these proceedings in front of us, but parking, as far as the neighbors are concerned, is a common objection. But again, I sort of started my comments by saying that the streets in this part of town are a lot wider than some of the historic neighborhoods. And so I'm personally not really offended by having a car on the street here because they are so wide. And there's plenty of parking in the driveway. But if the rest of the board wants to have a condition of off-street parking only, I don't think that the applicant would even have an issue with that. So, but that's kind of where I am. I don't know that I need to see that as a condition, but I'm only one board member, so. Any other
It's
questions?
not a complaint. I just wanted to hear.
Just
It
clarification.
wasn't a complaint.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my hearing is really bad, so.
Board members, I guess we're ready for questions, comments, or a motion?
I'm thinking 3 years on this one I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and move approval, 3 years, advertise with the self-imposed conditions that were in the application. I'm good with that.
Oh,
Did I
and
say
then-
3 years?
Yeah, 3 years. And one thing that I didn't see in the application was the maximum of 6 people. And so that might be something we add.
Advertise maximum 6, please.
Okay.
Was that not in there? Because it said how many people are allowed, and I had to put 6 on that. In either the first or the second grouping of paperworks that I had to file.
Okay. I didn't see it. I saw 3 bedrooms,
Yeah, it doesn't.
but I didn't see a
list the
maximum number of people.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I
Sounds like
apologize. 6.
yeah, sounds
No
like it's
pull-out
not an
couch, you're sleeping in a bed.
issue. Okay. Okay. So we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the special exception in case 14968 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 3 years on the condition it'll be advertised with the self-imposed conditions in the application and advertises hosting a maximum of 6 people. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Really
Do
appreciate
you
it.
want these back, or do you want them in the record?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not telling you what to do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Item number 9, case number 14969, application for a special exception of Brash Properties to allow home sharing located at 2637 West Park Place.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Bradley Davis. I live on 2326 Southwest 122nd Street in Southwest Oklahoma City. I moved here fairly recently. I'm from Indiana. Started doing short-term rentals 6 years ago, before it was cool and super crowded and everyone's doing it now. And I purchased this beautiful home in the Miller neighborhood on Park Place. Kind of our niche has been homes that are good for families. So there's actually a bunk bed and board games and puzzles and coloring things for kids. And most of our, the renters we're going after are people who are usually moving to the city or coming in for a Thunder game or just trying to explore the city further. It's really conveniently located to all the city's amenities. The property is managed by a property manager who actually lives in the Miller neighborhood. We have an extremely strict policy about parties. We screen every single renter, and I'm trying to think if I had anything else. I think that's pretty much it. We know the Miller neighborhood president really well. He's fully aware of our intentions for short-term rental. He's supportive of that, and we, like some of the other applicants, have invested a lot of capital into making the home beautiful and keeping it beautiful, maintaining a 5-star review. We've hosted thousands of people and have maintained that super host status for many years. So, yeah, that's my case.
Cindy, I think this is the one that we had a later protest.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The last minute objection. I didn't see any material protests in the letter to really address other than I don't like this. We've talked to and met with pretty much every neighbor on that street. I have not met her. But again, we take really good care of the property, and I think people are generally wary of parties and commotion, and we're generally renting this to families and a lot of like long-term healthcare workers, things like that. So we've never had a complaint about noise. Similar to the last gentleman, I give my cell phone number out to everybody, and then my manager actually lives in that neighborhood, so if there ever were an issue, we would address it immediately, and I live locally.
Okay, I don't have anyone else signed up to speak, nor do I see anyone, but for the purposes of the record, is there anyone else that wanted to be heard on this application? Okay, and we'll incorporate the objection that was emailed to us. I know that person wanted to be here, but I think for health reasons or something, they couldn't make it, which is understandable. So, but we'll incorporate those comments. I think for me, in this area, I can get on board with it for a shorter period of time, and up to 6 people and off-street parking only. That's kind of where I am right now. Any questions or comments from board members?
Could I push back on the number of people? We generally our limit is 10. I'd say our average is 6. We have a ton of parking and our lots are huge. And kind of the purpose of this property is to house larger groups. A lot of times you'll have 2 families coming in to stay together with their kids. So not for parties, but for just larger groups. Volleyball tournaments, conferences, state fair, things like that.
Okay.
But above 10, we would not allow.
Yeah, 3-bedroom.
Just 2,500 square foot. There's 2 queens, a king, and 2 full bunk beds.
Okay.
But again, that's the exception to the rule. Our average would be around 6.
Yeah, and
4 to 6.
You did mention the bunk beds. That's true. So, okay. Board members, any questions or comments? Okay. Particularly given the shorter period of time, I think I could probably come on board with 10 people, 8 or 10 people.
How many sets of bunk beds do you have?
1 set of bunk beds, but they're full bunk beds. So sometimes they'll put like 2 kids on the bottom and 2 kids on the top. When that happens, we also have 2 couches. That picture, that little unit where it's that converted garage is actually like a kid. It used to be like a mother-in-law suite, and we've converted it into like a kid zone with futon and bunk beds and stuff.
Sounds like a lot of people for a 3-bedroom house, but given the way that you've designed this, I mean, I think for this one, I could probably get on board with that, but I mean, typically the concern is, right, cramming as many people as you can, then you've got, whether you intend it to be a party house or not, you've got a situation where that could happen. You don't know that it's just a bunch of kids that are gonna be staying here. I mean, you're not putting requirements that it has to be, 10 people, but, 5 of them have to be under the age of 12, right? It could be 10 party people coming and staying there.
Yeah,
Technically.
I mean,
But I get what you're saying, and that
Yeah.
you've designed this in this way, but that's why the hesitancy from the board.
maybe we could
because-
do 8 and meet in the middle there.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. If the larger use is what you're wanting and what you're saying isn't going to be a problem, maybe the board could accommodate our larger use, but do it for a shorter period of time so that you come back in front of us in maybe a year and say, look.
I would rather do less people
Okay.
and not do this again.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's not been that bad.
I won't take offense to that, but
But I'd be fine with 8 if we could do the 2.
8 and 2 then.
That'd be
that
fine.
Yeah, I can definitely get on board with that, so. Yeah, I'm envisioning, 10 adults with 4 college guys that act like kids instead of having kids.
Hopefully that never happens.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, questions, comments, or a motion?
Move approval of case number 14969 with the conditions that it be advertised for a maximum of 8 guests, including did you include self-imposed rules here? I didn't see them, no. So it be advertised with a maximum of 8 guests and off-street parking only for a period of 2 years.
I'll second that.
There were some self-imposed conditions: no parties, no smoking, no illegal activities, quiet hours enforced by 10. I don't know if you wanted, I think those are going to be.
It's in the second paragraph, yes.
Yeah.
That's incorporated into my motion, that it be
Okay.
advertised with those imposed
Yeah,
conditions that you put there.
yeah. that
I
makes
figured you were going to do that anyway, but if it's in
Yes.
your special exception and it's not advertised as that, you risk losing your special exception. So, okay. And then are you okay with the way? Mike, to reset, okay, did you want to resecond her modified? Okay. Got a motion and a second to approve the application in case 14969 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 2 years on the condition that it'll be advertised as a maximum of 8 people, off-street parking only, and will incorporate the self-imposed conditions in the application. Were that all the conditions? Okay. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Item number 10 is case number 14970, a special exception of home sharing for Evangeline Bonzi, located at 4708 Southeast 45th Street.
Ma'am, were you here for item number 10?
No.
Okay.
My name is Carrie Matthew. I think I'm the last one.
Okay. Yep, you're 11. I don't see the applicant in case number 10, and I don't know that was one that got continued, was it? Okay,
No.
so.
I haven't heard from them.
Okay. Out of a courtesy to the applicant, I think we can grant them a one-time continuance to our next meeting, which, thanks to the handy calendar that Cindy provided, will apparently be January 20th. So do we have a motion to continue that application to January 20th?
Yeah, I'll move we continue this to January 20.
I second.
Motion and second to continue item number 10 to January 20th, 2022. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's continued.
Okay, item number 11, case number 14973, an application for a special exception of Carrie Matthew to allow home sharing located at 2336 Northwest 38th Street.
And ma'am, we don't allow babies here, so if you could, I'm just kidding.
Okay, So first of all, as I stated, my name is Carrie Matthew. I'm here to represent 2336 Northwest 38th. I do apologize for any interruption or distraction. Our baby.
Oh, you're fine.
So Quinn gets to learn about policies and procedures and
Nice.
processes today.
A little civics lesson.
Yeah. So, with that being said, my husband and I purchased this 1940s home back in October of 2021 with the intention of restoring it to its original charm. It has undergone updates, but it does keep many of the original elements to it, like the hardwood floors, the exposed brick leading into the kitchen. My husband and I are local to Oklahoma. We reside in Edmond with our 3 children. We have 3 other long-term rentals that have had the same tenants for a good period of time. We've built a very good rapport with them. With this home specifically, we intend to attract working professionals who need a place to stay as they visit Oklahoma for work purposes. Both my husband and I have worked in the healthcare field previously, and we see the need for comfortable and safe housing for those who are traveling to support our local hospitals and healthcare facilities. Therefore, we are seeking this board's approval to share this beautiful home with the community and traveling professionals in the hope that you will approve this special exception.
Are the renters going to have access to that garage?
What was that?
Are the renters going to have access to that garage?
Currently, that is not the intention for them to have access to that. If that's something that we need to have a conversation with the tenants about, we're open to having that conversation.
This would be a smaller car anyway in this area, but.
Yeah. But I mean, if there's inclement weather or something, and like I said, it can be a case by case, you know, to
Right.
protect.
I'm sure Ms. Guevara identified as well, but 2-bed and 6 guests.
Yes, so originally when I filled out the application, we were looking at accommodating 6 guests. At this point, we're looking at 4 guests. We
Okay.
have a king-size bed and a queen-size bed.
Right. That would make me feel more comfortable with the parking situation as well. 'Cause
What was
then-
that, how comfortable?
No, that'll make me feel more comfortable
Oh,
about the
okay.
parking situation.
Okay.
So with 6 guests, I'm going to assume 3 cars probably, and so 1 probably on the street. But with 4, and it's advertised as 4, and so if someone brings a baby and they have 5, you know, it's not the end of the world, but,
Okay. Well, that was my next comment. We have plans to make it family friendly. Like, we do have a pack and play in there, a high chair, along with other safety measures.
okay. Sure. The baby have any comments, it sounds like, for the
Does she?
board? Maybe voicing some support? Board members, any questions or comments?
My only observation on this one is this is also kind of in the heart of the heavily
Yeah,
congested area. So I would propose a shorter term on this one, maybe 2
Yeah.
years.
they're kind of in the gray area, they're right by the highway. So yeah, 2 years makes sense to me. I would though, to maybe give a point back to the applicant, maybe propose 5, advertised maximum of 5, just so that there's no uncertainty about kids or anything like that. So instead of requiring you to advertise it as maximum of 4, I can get on board with 5.
Okay.
Just 6, to me, opened up some bigger problems, but 5, I don't really have a problem with. So, and I think it allows you to expand and add the family dynamic that
Okay.
you're within the next 2 years. And if we limited it to 4, and then in a few months you add that, you're limited to 4 for 2 whole years.
Okay,
So I think 5 is fair,
okay.
and I can get on board with it. I would want it advertised as off-street parking only, personally.
As advertised what?
As off-street parking only.
Off-street parking?
Yeah,
Okay.
so parking
okay.
in the driveway only.
Okay.
And again, that's just being advertised as such, so if someone parks on the street, it's not like you would lose your special exception, but it would be advertised at least as off-street parking, so that at least hopefully it gives some guidance to the renters
Okay,
to focus on the street, so,
okay.
or focus on the driveway. Any questions or comments? Okay. For the record, I don't have anyone signed up, but is there anyone else who wanted to speak on this application? It's not the applicant? Okay. And I don't have any protests for this either, that I think we need to address. So, board members, I think we're ready for questions, comments, or a motion.
Move approval of case number 14973 for a period of 2 years with the condition that the property be advertised as a maximum of 5 guests and off-street parking only. And I think were those the only, and the house rules that are listed in the application.
Second. Oh, Mike.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the application in case 14973 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a special exception for a period of 2 years on the condition that the application or the advertisement will include the self-imposed house rules listed in the application. It'll be advertised as a maximum of 5 people, and it'll be advertised as off-street parking only. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And it's approved.
Okay. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
You guys have a good day.
Okay, item number 12 has been deferred till January 20th, and item number 13 has been withdrawn.
Okay, that concludes the items requiring a separate vote, so we'll move to additional items. Nothing on the agenda. We'll move to communications and board reports. Nothing on the agenda. Citizens to be heard. Not seeing any citizens to be heard. Any other business? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.